Okay, let's dive right into this explainer and unravel what is honestly one of the most cinematic and tragic historical mysteries of pre-Islamic Arabia. We're going to be exploring a story where fierce geopolitics, faith, and fire all intersect right in the ancient sands of Yemen.
So we begin with this incredibly powerful and visceral hook from the Quran, Surah al-Buruj. It immortalizes a horrific event where believers were thrown into burning trenches simply for their faith. But this vivid description of Ashab al-Ukhdud, the people of the ditch, isn't just some spiritual allegory. It echoes a very real historical trauma that literally shook the ancient world to its core.
Which, naturally, brings us to the big question. Who exactly were the people of the ditch? To really answer this, we have to look past the later religious texts and dig into the cold, hard archaeological evidence. We're talking ancient South Arabian rock inscriptions and early Syriac chronicles. We want to know what actually happened in the early 6th century.
All right, Part 1, Arabia's Ancient Proxy War.
You see, this tragedy wasn't just an isolated case of religious persecution, not at all. It was part of a massive ancient proxy war. When you think about this harsh, ancient landscape of Yemen, you can almost imagine these shifting empires fighting for control over the super lucrative incense and trade routes crossing this exact terrain. This was the heart of the Himyarite Kingdom. And in late antiquity, this highly strategic territory was the ultimate prize. Whoever controlled it, well, they controlled the immense wealth flowing through Arabia.
To put this into perspective, imagine a giant geopolitical chessboard. On one side, you've got the Christian Byzantine Empire allied with the Aksumite Kingdom, which was located in modern-day Ethiopia. And facing off against them, you have the Sasanian Persian Empire, who backed the Himyarite Kingdom, which, at this specific point in time, was led by Jewish and polytheist elites. So Arabia was literally caught right in the middle of a global superpower rivalry.
And right in the crosshairs of these competing superpowers sat the city of Najran. Now, Najran wasn't just a religious center. It was an incredibly wealthy, pro-Byzantine commercial hub. It was the crucial intersection where economic trade routes from Yemen branched off towards Syria and Iraq. And because of its Christian population and its really strong economic ties to the Byzantines and Aksumites, it became a massive target for the opposing Himyarite forces.
Moving on to Part 2, the rise of Dhu Nuwas.
Meet Yusuf Asar Yathar, who is way better known to history as Dhu Nuwas. He was the very last independent king of Himyar, and later tradition actually notes him for his rabbinical sidelocks, which is where the name Dhu Nuwas, or Lord of the Curls, comes from. It's just an absolutely fascinating historical detail. He was a Saracen king who embraced rabbinical Judaism, and his primary goal was to unify South Arabia and fiercely push back against the Christian Aksumite influence that was encroaching on his territory.
But his strategy wasn't just political posturing. It was ruthless military action. From economic trade blockades to full-on military strikes, Dhu Nuwas initiated a highly targeted campaign to eradicate Ethiopian military forces and their local Christian allies. He systematically attacked Aksumite garrisons, he burned churches in the capital of Zafar, and then he turned his armies directly toward the wealthy, fortified city of Najran.
And that brings us to Part 3, the massacre at Najran.
20,000. When Dhu Nuwas laid siege to Najran in the year 523 CE, the sheer scale of what followed was staggering. Now, historical accounts naturally vary, right? Islamic traditions cite up to 20,000 victims, while Christian sources tend to emphasize an 800-strong Abyssinian community that was previously targeted in Zafar. But regardless of the exact number, it emphasizes the devastating, monumental human scale of the persecution. Men, women, and children were caught in the horrific climax of this proxy war.
You know, what is truly mind-blowing about this event is how perfectly it's cross-verified. It's so rare in ancient history to get this. In the Syriac Christian accounts, we read passionate, heartbreaking descriptions of a broken oath and believers burned alive. But then, on the flip side, we have the Syriac rock inscription J1028. This is a cold, stone-carved military report from the perpetrators themselves, confirming the exact same atrocity.
So how did it actually happen? Well, according to the synthesis of these historical records, the fall of Najran was a calculated, brutal military operation. Step 1 was a grueling 13-month economic blockade of the caravan routes, designed to put extreme pressure on the city. Step 2 was a negotiated surrender, where Syriac accounts claim Dhu Nuwas swore on the Torah to spare the inhabitants, an oath he allegedly broke.
And step 3 was the mass execution of the Christians, which even included exhuming buried bishops and the horrifying burning of their church.
Which leads directly into part 4, the Aksumite retaliation.
An atrocity of this magnitude, especially in such a geopolitically sensitive region, simply does not happen in a vacuum. The international blowback was swift and it was absolute. So in 523 CE, you have the siege and massacre at Najran. Almost immediately in 524, eyewitness letters written by Bishop Simeon of Beth Arsham start to circulate. These acted like an ancient distress signal, sparking massive Byzantine outrage. And by 525 CE, this culminates in a massive Byzantine-backed Ethiopian invasion led by the Aksumite king Caleb. This invasion entirely destroys Dhu Nuwas and the independent Himyarite Kingdom.
Finally, part 5, history, epigraphy, and faith.
Let's take a step back and look at how the ashes of Najran shaped the spiritual and cultural landscape of the world that followed. Looking at this impartially, whether it's viewed through ancient rock inscriptions, historical chronicles, or sacred scripture, the people of the ditch hold a profound legacy across all 3 Abrahamic faiths. In Islam, they are immortalized in the Quran as the ultimate symbol of steadfast belief against tyranny. In Christianity, they are remembered vividly as a testament to ultimate sacrifice. And in Judaism and broader Arabian history, this marks a highly complex era of brief Jewish autonomy and incredibly violent proxy warfare.
The story of Najran isn't just some distant tale of persecution. It is a foundational puzzle piece that paved the way for the profound religious transformations that would sweep the Arabian Peninsula. It reminds us that the human struggle for belief, identity, and power, often manipulated by shifting, massive empires, has been shaping our world for millennia. So looking at today's geopolitical map, you have to ask yourself, how much has truly changed? What is your biggest takeaway from the story of the people of the ditch?